Welcome to the Slow Living Collective podcast. I'm Amy, wife, mother of two and devoted homemaker. Join me on this journey as we explore the beauty of slow and simple living, where life unfolds at its own unhurried pace. I'll take you through my experiences of slowing down, tending to our allotment plot, finding joy in the little things and making the most of our small home. Together we'll learn to live in harmony with the ever-changing seasons, discovering the magic that lies in embracing the present moment. So let's embark on this enriching adventure towards a more intentional and fulfilling life. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Slow Living Collective podcast. I'm Amy, and today I have a really exciting episode. I've been really excited about recording this. It is debunking myths around slow living, because boy is there a lot. Do I hear them a lot? So I want to ask you a question. When you hear the term slow living, what comes to mind for you? Is it about maybe living off grid? Is it having endless free time? Or maybe it's just about slowing down and doing nothing all day. So let's be honest. When I first started hearing about slow living, my mind immediately went to the image of someone living in a cozy cottage, maybe by the sea, just relaxing all day, lots of blankets, sipping a cup of coffee, completely disconnected from the chaos of the modern world. And I thought, well, that sounds nice, but it's not really realistic for me. So many of us have heard the term slow living, but there is so much confusion surrounding it. It sounds like it's something that's reserved for the ultra relaxed or minimalistic people, right? Like maybe you've even thought, it sounds great, but I'm juggling work and kids and a million other things. So slow living just isn't for me. So today's episode, I want to really dive into it, because slow living isn't about withdrawing from the world or abandoning your responsibilities or spending your days doing nothing. It's not about being perfect or having endless hours of free time, but it is about reclaiming your time and setting boundaries and creating a life that feels more intentional and in alignment with your values, no matter how busy you are. No matter how busy you are. So I want to use today to clear up some of those really common misconceptions and show you how slow living isn't this one size fits all concept. It is for everyone, especially those of you that are juggling busy lives, family schedules, long to-do lists, busy work life, all of it. Slow living isn't about doing less. Despite what it sounds like, it is not about doing less. It is about doing more of what matters and finding some peace amongst all of the chaos. So today we're going to dive into it, how it can fit into any lifestyle, what it is, what it really is, why it's the perfect antidote to today's fast-paced, hustle-driven world. And trust me, you don't need to live off-grid, you don't need to live in a cottage, you don't need to live by the sea. You can start living more slowly right where you are at. And slow living is something that we can all incorporate into our lives, and we can start right away. Okay, I want to share something with you. If you're feeling overwhelmed by your busy life and longing for a little more balance, then my free guide, The Busy Person's Guide to Slowing Down, is exactly what you need. This guide is packed with practical tips, simple strategies, and it will help you create moments of calm amidst the chaos. So whether you're juggling work, family, or everyday demands, this guide is going to show you how to slow down, simplify, and bring more intention to your day to day. So let's take a deep breath, find our pace, grab the Busy Person's Guide to Slowing Down, and it can help you start your journey to a slower and more fulfilling life. If you want to download it, it's absolutely free. All you need to do is go to theslowlivingcollective.com/busyguide. That's theslowlivingcollective.com/busyguide. Okay, back to slow living. And now I can admit this. When I first heard about slow living, I thought it was for people who had far more free time than I could ever imagine. And like I said earlier, I pictured people living in cottages surrounded by nature, spending their days reading, baking bread, wearing wool jumpers, and sipping tea while watching the sunset. And it just seems so idyllic, so peaceful, and so unrealistic for someone like me. That is honestly how it felt. You know, at that point in my life, I had this never-ending to-do list. I was juggling work, parenting, looking after the home, housework, and just this growing list of responsibilities. And there was honestly just no way that I thought I could make time for something as slow as that. Because I thought slow living was just a dreamy idea for those who had the luxury of time and space, which was something I absolutely did not have. But I was intrigued, so I started diving a little deeper, and I realised something incredibly important. And that is that slow living isn't about doing less. It is about doing more of the things that matter with intention. It is not about escaping the world and, you know, cutting ourselves off from the fast-paced society that we live in, but instead learning how to move through it a little more consciously and focusing on the quality of moments rather than the quantity of the tasks we have. So I began to sort of see, I guess, that slow living wasn't a perfect idyllic escape from the hustle of life, but instead more about being present right where I am, where I was, and embracing simplicity in the chaos and finding joy in all of the little moments that get lost in the hustle. I learned about shifting my mindset and reclaiming my time and just taking back control over how I spend my days and how I show up in them. And so I think that's why I wanted to do this episode today, what I wanted to share with you today, because and I've said this in past episodes, and it's funny that this just one Instagram story that I did just sparked so many thoughts in my mind. So if you haven't listened to my previous episodes, I spoke about how earlier on in January, I actually just posted this very sort of like throwaway Instagram poll. And I put it up, and it was literally just asking the question, what do you find that one of the biggest challenges about slow living? And the 4 options I gave were something along the lines of, and I can't remember and I don't have it in front of me, but along the lines of, I don't have the time, I feel guilty for resting, and there were 2 others. I can't remember what they were. Bear with me. I think I can probably find it on my phone super quick. Who knows? This is just to prove to you that I don't really edit these podcasts. The other ones were hard to focus and don't know how. So what's your biggest challenge with slowing down? Too much to do, guilt for resting, hard to focus, don't know how. And 90% of people said that their biggest challenge was either they have too much to do or they feel guilt for resting, and 6% said hard to focus, 4% said they don't know how. So it blew my mind when I saw how many people, 90% of the people that responded, saying that they feel that they can't slow down because they have too much to do. And it just sparked so many ideas in my head. And it's inspired just a lot of thought, a lot of podcast episodes actually, and it's kind of what I want to share with you today, that slow living isn't this unattainable dream. It's just something that you can start implementing in your own life, even when you're balancing kids, work, busy schedules. And it's just about intentionally slowing down the pace so you can move through life with a little more presence. But it is not about doing less, but it is about making room for doing more of what really matters. And you don't have to live in a cottage or spend hours a day doing nothing to make it happen. I think the whole beauty of slow living is that it's completely customizable to you, and it can work for anyone, no matter how full your calendar might be. So today, let's dive into debunking some of the myths around slow living. Okay, now I know some of you guys are just like me and you are growing your own businesses, or you want to grow a small business and make a little bit of extra income. So I want to share with you my slow business bundle that I created just for people like you. It is a collection of 30 resources, ebooks, guides, checklists designed to help you simplify your business practices and align you with the values of slow, simple and seasonal living. And it will help you make progress at a pace that feels right for you. It's full of tips, tools and guidance that is going to really help support you in creating a business that feels fulfilling and sustainable to you. So if you're tired of the hustle mentality and you want to run a business on your own terms, grab the Slow Business Bundle by visiting theslowlivingcollective.com/slow business bundle. That is theslowlivingcollective.com/slow business bundle. Okay, let's dive into slow living myth number 1. So we're going to start with a good one, that slow living means doing nothing. Because when people hear the term slow living, they often imagine this lifestyle where you just abandon productivity altogether. And they picture this life where you slow down so much that you're just doing nothing, just lounging around, avoiding any sort of responsibility or task. And that couldn't be further from the truth, because slow living is definitely not about doing nothing at all. It's about doing less, but doing it with more intention. So slow living is really about being mindful of how you spend your time and making deliberate choices that align with your values. So it's not about eliminating productivity, it's about shifting your focus. And so instead of being constantly busy, running an autopilot and maybe just packing out a to-do list and actually not really achieving anything, slow living encourages you to be more present in everything you do. So it's about choosing activities and actions that bring you joy, fulfillment, purpose, etc. and just letting go of the constant rush to check things off your list. So slow living, it doesn't mean abandoning your productivity. It just means slowing down enough to choose what's truly worth your time and energy. So take a moment to just think about this. So imagine you're having like your morning coffee or tea or whatever, without rushing to get to the next thing, without checking your phone or making mental to-do lists, just you and your coffee, just for a few peaceful minutes to breathe. Or maybe you are on your lunch break and you're taking a short walk outside, not distracted by screens, you're not scrolling your phone, you're not thinking about deadlines or work, just engaged in the present moment. This is slow living, and it's making these little moments count. So it's not about doing nothing, it's about doing less, but with more intention, mindfulness and presence. And in that space, the things that you do choose to do, they become more meaningful and fulfilling. So myth number 2, slow living is only for people who have time to waste. So a common misconception about slow living is that it's something that's only accessible to people who have endless free time, like people who are retired or stay-at-home parents or those without responsibilities. And people often think that slow living is just a luxury for those who don't have to juggle a full schedule or meet deadlines. And you know what? I said this in a previous episode, that I definitely have felt in the past, me projecting this onto myself, that who am I to tell people to slow down when I am a stay-at-home parent and they maybe have like a PAYE 9-to-5 job. And then I sat myself down and I thought about it, because firstly, if somebody thinks that about me, then like I should not give that the time and energy, because that's all it deserves, nothing. Because although I am a stay-at-home parent in the sense of I am with my children, I am the one that takes care of them, you know, at home or out and about, you know, because I home educate them as well. So I am their caregiver when my husband is unavailable. But I still have a job. I run my own business, arguably doing multiple jobs at the same time, and I still have the responsibilities of educating my children, raising my children, and just because I might fall into the stay-at-home parent box, I guess, on the face of it, yeah, I'm actually have quite a full schedule as well, because I have to work in the other times. I have to work, you know, I work around my husband's work, so that if If he's working, then I have the kids. If I'm working, he has the kids. And so, it's a choice of ours to home educate, of course. But, let's not forget that school can also be viewed as a place of childcare. If my children went to school, I would have a different availability of time. So my schedule is very full, but sometimes I project onto myself, who am I to tell people they need to slow down when on the face of it looks like I have ample free time, let's say. So the truth of this one is that slow living is for everyone, especially those of us with busy lives who need more balance and moments to rest or to recharge. So, that's entirely the reason that I created the Busy Person's Guide to Slowing Down that I shared with you, because it's for everyone, and it especially helps people who are busy. And so it's really easy, I think, to feel like slow living is out of reach if you have a packed calendar. I mean, 51% of people said they can't do it because they're too busy, when that is a complete contradiction of itself. But it is not about having these hours and hours of free time to lounge. I think, like I said, I can sometimes project onto myself that I have no place to be sharing it, because people will automatically think I have tons of free time because I'm a stay-at-home parent. And, like I said, it's just not the case. Slow living is more about being intentional with the time that we do have and carving out small moments to slow down. And you will hear me say this time and time again, like, we have these non-negotiables in our life. I have to educate my children. I have to do that. Just like if you have a child at school, you have to, find a way for them to be educated, which is putting them into the school system. So I have to educate my children. That is a non-negotiable. I run my own business. There are things I have to do. Sitting here recording this podcast is one of those things, right? It is part of like my bigger business plan. It might be free to access, but it takes time. It takes time to record a show, to edit a show, to put to upload it, to write all the materials and posts to go with it. All of this stuff is time. And so it's just about finding space around the things that are non-negotiable in our lives, and making time for what truly matters. And I know firsthand that even in the busiest of schedules, slow living is possible. In fact, I would say it is needed more than ever when you feel that way. So if you were one of the 51% that says you can't slow down because you don't have enough time, this is for you. It is needed more than ever in that sort of lifestyle, right? Because it is about finding those small pockets of time where you can just reset, breathe, and center yourself. And that can be like a small morning ritual, a few minutes outside. That's one of the things I like to do every day. Just take a couple of minutes first thing in the morning outside, literally just a couple of minutes. That is it, a couple of minutes. And so it can even be like pausing for a moment before you get on with the next piece of work when you're in the workplace. But it's these little moments of intentional stillness that aren't about wasting time. They're about making sure you're fully present and focused when you do take action. And I've been there, caught in the whirlwind of all these responsibilities, tasks, commitment. But honestly, through small and simple changes, I've learned how to slow down in a way that helps me stay more grounded, more focused, and just more aligned with my values, even in a busy day. And it doesn't take a lot of time. So I would say no, slow living isn't just for people with a lot of free time. It's for anyone who just needs a little bit of balance in their life, and just a reminder that we don't have to rush through life. It's about prioritizing what matters most with the time that you do have. And we all have time. We might not think we have time, but outside of the non-negotiables, there is time. So, reverse engineer it. You need X amount of time to sleep. You spend this amount of time, commuting to work. You spend this amount of time at work. This is the time that you spend at the gym or exercising. This is what you cook dinner. Everything that is a non-negotiable in your day, reverse engineer it, take it all away. How much time do you have left? If it's 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes. If you've got 5 minutes left, you can do slow living. You can find 5 minutes in your day to live a little slower. So, there is something there. So myth number 3, is slow living too expensive? I don't know where this one comes from, but a common belief is that slow living requires some sort of big financial commitment. I think because people think, it often goes like hand in hand, I guess, with like homesteading and farming and buy everything organic and investing in certain products to embrace a slow lifestyle. And, some of that is a byproduct of that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, one didn't spiral into the next, but it certainly doesn't have to. And the reality is that, slow living is making intentional, conscious choices regardless of your budget. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to live slowly. And I would also argue that it's not about spending more, it's about making the most of what you already have. Now, do I buy everything organic? No. Do I buy as much as I can organic? Yes, I do. That is a personal preference of mine. Do you have to buy everything organic? Not if you don't want to, not if you can't afford it. It is just about working with what you already have and knowing your budget. We'll have very different budgets, so I can sit here all day long and say, I only buy organic milk and cheese and meat and veg and fruit. And, but also on the flip side of that is that, I would say to be able to live the lifestyle I want, I do certain things in my business to enable me to earn more money so I can, have the lifestyle I want. So it swings and roundabouts, let's say. But slow living, it doesn't have to be expensive. In fact, it doesn't have to cost a single penny, because what it is a shift in mindset. It is about being thoughtful with the resources that you have. It's certainly not about acquiring more. That's the last thing we want. Simplifying is all about, living with less anyway, and just focusing on what really adds value to your life. So you don't need to live on a farm to experience the benefits of slow living. You don't have to have a homestead. You can bring the principles of slow living into your everyday life, literally by choosing to live more mindfully in your current space. I live in a 2-bedroom, split-level flat. I have absolutely no intention of leaving here. Now, do I grow my own food? Absolutely. I rent my own allotment. I grow on my small balcony. For many years, all I did was grow food on my small balcony before I had the allotment. Like, you can make choices that fit with where you are currently at. And so, even simple actions like cooking meals with ingredients you already have, growing your own food, making conscious choices about where you purchase your food from, you can do all of these things without breaking the bank. So I wouldn't say it's about spending money at all, actually. It's your life, your budget, you figure out what works for you. So myth number 4 is slow living is only about nature and rural living. So first and foremost, I don't live rurally, so let's start with that one. But so many people associate slow living with a rural life. It can only work for those who escape the hustle and bustle of the city, and it's that cozy cottage idea again. And I would argue with this, till I'm blue in the face, because I think slow living is adaptable to any environment. I talk frequently about slow living, simple living, living in tune with the seasons, urban homesteading, organic growing, all of those sorts of things. They sort of, it's a rabbit hole that once you fall in, it just spirals really. But, I'll often talk about urban homesteading and how to grow, veg in a small space on a balcony. And so I do also live in a spot where I'm lucky to live adjacent to a lot of nature. I'm not living in this super urban city environment, but while I think nature and rural living offers a lot of opportunities for slowing down, that's not the core of slow living. The core of slow living is about bringing mindfulness and intention into an everyday routine no matter where you are. It's about slowing down within your current lifestyle. You know, you don't have to make some massive change. So, you know, in an urban setting, for example, slow living might look like taking a walk in your local park, or using your commute on the train as an opportunity to listen to an audiobook or podcast, or it might just mean creating calm space in your home. Now, I live in a small and busy space, and I have really learned how to integrate slow living into my urbanish setting. So, like I said, I tend to a small garden on my balcony. I prepare my meals with care and intention. I focus on organic food. I carve out moments of stillness in the chaos. And these practices really allow me to slow down and find balance in my everyday life, even when I'm surrounded by the fast pace of living sort of less rurally. I would say I live on the edge of town, let's say. So the key to slow living is not all about where you live, but how you choose to live. So whether you are in the middle of a city, small town, live on a farm, out in the middle of nowhere, you can absolutely incorporate the principles of slow living. So, myth number 5, slow living means giving up technology and social media. And so this is a massive misconception, actually, about how slow living requires you to kind of give up all forms of technology and social media, and that the idea is if you truly want to live slowly, you need to disconnect entirely, live off grid, avoid the distractions of modern life. And so often I see people like berating others, like, you know, I'm going to live slowly, so I'm logging off, is almost like I'm better than you kind of thing. But the truth is, slow living isn't about rejecting technology altogether. It's about using it with intention. And technology can be a super powerful tool when it's used purposefully. Like, I can't do my job without technology, and I'd go as far to say as most of you can't do yours either. And so, you know, in today's world, I would say it's nearly impossible to completely cut yourself off from technology. And I also don't think it's necessary, because slow living is not about living in isolation. It's about how you engage with the digital world. So you can set boundaries, you can be selective about where you spend your energy, you can choose tools that serve you rather than overwhelm you. So personally, I find that social media can be a really valuable space for connection when I use it intentionally. So I follow accounts that inspire me, that support my values, that I can learn from. You know, I've got friends on social media, but I also use it lightly. So, you know, I am happy. I enjoy sharing. I enjoy crafting and creating and, you know, producing content. I do really enjoy that. It's been my whole career since I was 21 years old. I'm nearly 40. I don't know any different. It's just an inherent part of who I am. But at the same time, I would say that I use social media with a lot of intention, and so I ebb and flow. You know, I'm not creating or existing on social media at the same rate all year round. I take rests. Sometimes I just sign off and I'm happy to, you know, just chill out. Sometimes I'll post 5 times a week. Sometimes I'll post once a week. Sometimes I'll post twice a month. Who knows? I just ebb and flow, but I do run a business, so it does require me to exist there. But I enjoy it. I found it, you know, a place of positivity rather than a place of stress. I don't find it a place of comparison either. I know that some people do really struggle with that, but I just find it a place that is, you know, I think maybe because I just use it mindfully, that it doesn't stress me out. I don't check likes. I don't worry about algorithms. Like, I just don't care. I turn my likes off. So any post I have, like, it can be liked, of course, but I'm not counting the likes. I don't go into my analytics and check it. Like, you know, I turn it off because it's not what I'm there for. So you know, there are lots of ways that you can manage your relationship with social media. I also, you know, I don't have notifications on my phone. The only notifications that exist on my phone is so it can ring. and text messages from certain people. Everybody else is muted. Apologies, but that's just the way it is. I will get to you when I get to you. If it's urgent, you need to call. And it's been like that. I don't have any apps with notifications on, nothing. You can call, you can text. If you're a certain person on my list, your text will get through. If you're not a certain person on my list, I still love you lots, but I will probably get to you a little later. And that's all it is. And, I think with technology, it's just about balance. I also set boundaries on screen time. I don't allow myself any more than, so I actually set it as a physical thing, because it's really difficult to actually monitor yourself, I think, because you can easily get caught in a scroll. I can easily get caught in a scroll as well. But I don't allow myself anymore on Instagram to be on there for more than 1 hour a day, and I never hit it anyway. And so, that's really useful, having that boundary on screen time. I don't use any other social media. So, I don't have TikTok. I never use Facebook. So these are things that, I either don't have or I'm not opening. So that doesn't bother me either. So there's nothing else. It is literally just Instagram. I obviously use Substack, but I do that in intentional work, like as an intentional work thing, and I do that on my computer. So I just feel like it's I'm much more mindful around it, I feel. And I wouldn't say, what you can do is you can schedule yourself a digital detox. I never really feel like I need to do that, because I don't find that I get overwhelmed or burnt out by it. But that might be something that's worth trying if you do feel that way. But I would just definitely turn all your notifications off, slimline your apps, don't allow yourself endless scrolling time, and just take a digital detox if you need to. Just be mindful really how technology can impact your life, and just be really conscious about your digital habits, because the goal of slow living isn't to completely disconnect, but to engage in a way that aligns with your values and helps you sort of maintain this balance in your life. So slow living is not about doing less. It's about being intentional with the time, the energy and the resources you already have. It's about slowing down with purpose, not about retreating from the world or rejecting productivity. Instead, it's about not feeling overwhelmed by never-ending to-do lists. But it does teach us to reclaim our time and approach life with just a bit more intention and make space for what truly matters to us. And I would say sort of at its core, slow living is just finding a rhythm that feels right for you. I say this a lot to people that, I can't tell you how to live your life, because all of our lives are different. We all have different lives. We have different schedules. We have different jobs. We have children. We don't have children. We have different ages, budgets, everything. Everything, it looks different. So it is about making it, a rhythm that is right for you. So, you might be managing a really busy family life. You might be juggling work. You might be juggling work and a busy family life. You might be balancing multiple projects. You might run your own business. There's so many different variables. And slow living can just help you find peace and joy, whatever the variables are, even when it feels a little chaotic sometimes. So if you're in the 51% on my poll, he said you don't have time, you do. You can do it. I promise. It's possible. So don't feel like you're left out and you're just doomed to this cycle of hustle. It is possible. All you need to do is just start. That is the thing. So slow living, it's not about keeping up with that hustle or trying to live up to someone else's version of success. It is so customizable just to you. It's your version of slow living, your version of life, and it's one that will allow you to show up really fully without the pressure to be everywhere and do everything. And as I've said all the way through, and I say frequently, it is really only just about making these small, simple changes that help you realign. So, it can be just a small, tiny shift, and they really do add up over time. So, It's not something that you're like, oh, today you're going to decide, right, I'm going to do slow living, and tomorrow, there you go, you're suddenly slow living. It's not something that you just do overnight. It's not about perfection or achieving some ideal line in the sand, but these small, simple changes that you make every day that slowly bring you closer to a life that just feels a bit more balanced and intentional. And so if you're really unsure where to begin, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I had like so many misconceptions about slow living, actually I would like to try and put that into my life somehow. Like I said earlier, you can download my Busy Person's Guide to Slowing Down. That is a great place to start. It's completely free. Also, I created the Slow and Simple Workshop. It is a 3-step framework to really help you take those first steps towards a more intentional life. It's not something extra to add to your life. I'm not going to take up tons of your time. It is just 40 minutes, and we explore how you can start weaving slow living into your busy routine so you can find a bit more peace, focus and joy in the midst of all the chaos that is this crazy life. So if you want to join the Slow and Simple Workshop, all you need to do is go to theslowlivingcollective.com/slow workshop. That's theslowlivingcollective.com/slow workshop. And there you can sign up and just get started. So I would love to invite you to that workshop. It is really designed to help you to go from feeling busy and overwhelmed to living more slowly and more intentionally. And whether you're just starting out or you're looking to take your slow living journey to the next level, I think this workshop will provide you with the tools and mindset shifts that you need to get started with ease. So definitely head over there. That's the Slow Living Collective .com/slow workshop, and you can get yourself all signed up and we can get started. Okay guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode and joining me while I debunked some of the myths around slow living. I hope it was helpful. I hope maybe it opened your eyes to what slow living is and what slow living isn't. I know I had some misconceptions, I hear it bandied around and was like, yeah, that's not for me, I'm too busy. But actually, do you know what? It's for everyone. It's for all of us. And so I am so grateful to have you listening along with me today. Thank you so much. You can come and check out me over on Substack. I'm there, theslowlivingcollective.substack.com. Come follow me also on Instagram. I'm there at The Slow Living Collective. And of course, you can, if you come over to Substack, actually, you can find this podcast episode and post where I go into a bit more detail about misconceptions and myths around slow living. Also, leave me a comment on this podcast episode over on Substack and let me know what your biggest misconception around slow living was. And how you feel about it now, because I would love to hear. Also, don't forget, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the show, and if you can, leave a rating or a review, because it really helps other people find the show and helps us just find people who are looking for, just join us on this crazy slow and simple living journey that we're all on. So thank you guys again so much for listening, and I will catch you in my next episode.